Hi everyone, I'm Josh Elliott, the guy who reviews movies that nobody else cared to see. So, tomorrow is the day the Oscar nominations are announced. I'm excited, mainly because I am very happy with the movies that are getting Oscar buzz. The Oscars are usually pretty good with picking the types of movies to nominate, but this year they've been especially good. If I'm right, it should be a pretty decent set of nominees. I also want to say that these are not what I think should be nominated, these are what I think will be nominated. I'll touch a little bit on whether they should be nominated or shouldn't. Okay, so Best Picture can have up to 10 nominees. I think this year they're gonna go with 9. In no particular order: Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, Lady Bird, Darkest Hour, Dunkirk, Call Me By Your Name, The Shape of Water, The Post, I, Tonya, and Mudbound. Based on what's been nominated at previous award ceremonies, I think that's a pretty fair bet. Three Billboards is a given, Lady Bird, Call Me By Your Name, Dunkirk, The Shape of Water. If this was when only 5 movies could get nominated, those would be the 5 that would be getting nominated. But once you get into the final 5 or 4, however many they're going to nominate, that's when things start to get a little eh. The Post will probably be nominated. I actually saw The Post last night. It was really good. I'll try and get a review out soon. But the final 3, I, Tonya, Darkest Hour, and Mudbound, are really iffy. Mudbound is a Netflix movie, and that's probably the biggest thing holding it back. Plus, Mary J. Blige has pretty much become the only thing that this movie is worth talking about. I personally didn't like her performance that much, but I think that that's really all people are talking about, and I don't know if a supporting performance is enough to get a movie to Best Picture. But then again, you also have the fact that it was directed by a female, and after the Golden Globes controversy of no female directors, if they don't nominate Dee Rees for Best Director, they may nominate the movie for Best Picture to compensate for that. Darkest Hour, I think, has a solid chance of getting nominated because it is a World War II movie, although I do think a lot of its buzz is centered around Gary Oldman's performance. Although a lot of times movies that center around one fantastic performance do end up getting nominated for Best Picture. Like Lincoln, I thought was a fine movie, but I think the reason it got so much attention was because of Daniel Day-Lewis's performance, and that eventually got it the Best Picture nomination. I, Tonya, I love I, Tonya. I just don't think many people have been talking about it. It just hasn't appeared on many lists. If I were to pick other movies that I think are likely to get nominated, Get Out is a solid chance. I think the main thing holding it back is how early it came out in the year, and also just the subject matter and the type of genre it is may not be as approachable to some Oscar voters. I've heard The Florida Project has a decent chance as well, which I still haven't seen. It never came to my theater. Never. Anywhere near me. We never got it. So hopefully, if it does get nominated for stuff, then it will come to my theater and I can finally get a review out for it. If the 9 movies that I think will get nominated do get nominated, then I will be relatively happy with the results. Maybe not with Mudbound. I didn't like Mudbound that much, but most of the movies I really liked. So Best Director. Guillermo del Toro is a for sure. Christopher Nolan is a for sure. Martin McDonagh is a for sure. Those final 2 slots, who knows? Greta Gerwig will probably get a nomination for Lady Bird. One, because it is directed well, but mainly I think because she is a female director and the movie is female-centric, plus the Golden Globes controversy, they want to focus on the female directors, and so she'll probably get a nomination. And the final slot will probably either go to Luca Guada, I don't know how to pronounce the last name, but the guy that directed Call Me By Your Name, or Steven Spielberg for The Post. And they're 2 very different types of direction. They're both great, but Call Me By Your Name is a very subtle direction, whereas The Post is very showy and flashy. It's very Steven Spielberg. And so I think The Post may have a better shot at getting nominated. If I were to pick a final one to fill that slot, it would be The Post, mainly because it's a very cinematic look for the movie, and I think Oscar voters would like that. Okay, Best Actor. Gary Oldman's gonna win. Timothée Chalamet is the second highest chance of getting it, I would say. He's fantastic in Call Me By Your Name. I've actually seen Call Me By Your Name twice already, and I'm seeing it again tonight. I loved it that much. Daniel Day-Lewis will be nominated because he's Daniel Day-Lewis. I think James Franco and Tom Hanks will take the final 2 slots. This has been a pretty solid category for a while now. Those have been the 5 main nominees. Daniel Kaluuya is a potential spoiler. He may take Tom Hanks' spot. We'll see what happens, but I would say those 5. Best Actress is probably the easiest category I'm going to predict, simply because the answers are so obvious because they are all such great performances. If these 5 women get nominated, this may be the best category at the Oscars because these are such strong actresses and such strong female characters. Frances McDormand for Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, Saoirse Ronan for Lady Bird, Margot Robbie for I, Tonya, Sally Hawkins for The Shape of Water, Meryl Streep for The Post. There. Those are your 5 nominees. It's been easy to predict that for a while, and for good reason. They're all fantastic. I loved all of their performances, and I hope they all get nominated. If one of them didn't, I would probably say it would be Meryl Streep, simply because people kind of tend to take Meryl Streep for granted. Like, she's a great actress, and I think The Post is definitely one of her more deserving nominations, but I do think there are some voters out there that are probably like the public, where it's like, oh, Meryl Streep gets nominated for everything, so I'm not gonna vote for her. I'm gonna vote for Jessica Chastain from Molly's Game instead. If one of the 5 women doesn't get nominated, it's probably gonna be Jessica Chastain that takes the nomination. Now we get into the really interesting parts. Best Supporting Actor is a very fuzzy category. Sam Rockwell is the obvious choice. Willem Dafoe is a solid choice as well, because he's been getting nominated for lots of stuff. Richard Jenkins is kind of your underdog nominee, I'd say, because he doesn't really have that big a role in Shape of Water, and nobody's been talking about him that much, but he has been getting nominated for pretty much everything, which honestly kind of makes me sad, because like, he's getting nominated for everything but nobody's talking about him. But he'll probably get an Oscar nomination. Armie Hammer for Call Me by Your Name would be another pick of mine. I think he was great in Call Me by Your Name. He's so charming in that movie. I fell in love with him, and I think a lot of other people fell in love with him as well, and so that's why he'll get nominated. The final nominee, I've got to say Woody Harrelson for 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. It's a rare occasion when 2 people get nominated in the same category for the same movie, but I think Woody Harrelson gave a pretty awesome performance in 3 Billboards, and I think the Oscars might actually award him with it. Christopher Plummer could sneak in and steal it from Woody Harrelson, so could Michael Stuhlbarg for Call Me by Your Name. But then again, you have the issue of 2 people from one movie being nominated in the same category. That's such a rare thing that happens, but Michael Stuhlbarg's monologue in Call Me by Your Name was great. If he gets nominated, he'll be one of those people that gets nominated because of one scene, and that, like, the scene is awesome, but I wouldn't say good enough for a nomination. I still haven't seen All the Money in the World, and I probably won't unless Christopher Plummer gets nominated. If I were to pick who I think would be nominated instead of Woody Harrelson, I would say Christopher Plummer. Now we've got Best Supporting Actress. My predictions are Laurie Metcalf for Lady Bird, Allison Janney for I, Tonya. One of those 2 is gonna win. It's a neck and neck race between the 2 of them, I'd say. I really, really hope Holly Hunter gets nominated for The Big Sick. She's been getting nominated for lots of stuff, but she didn't get a Golden Globe nomination, which is what makes me think that she might not be nominated, but I really hope she is, because she's hysterical in The Big Sick. Holly Hunter's my favorite of the 5 performances I'm listing. Octavia Spencer for The Shape of Water, she's really good in that. And Mary J. Blige for Mudbound. I've already said what I think about that performance. Potential spoilers. Hung Chow for Downsizing. She was good in Downsizing, but I think the quality of the movie itself will be what keeps her from getting nominated. She did get a Golden Globe, so maybe she'll sneak in with a nomination, but I'm not quite sure how it will work out for her. Now we got Best Original Screenplay. I think we got a pretty solid category here. 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, and Lady Bird, for sure nominations. Like, those screenplays are fantastic. I think Get Out will get nominated for Best Original Screenplay as well. I don't think it's going to get nominated for Best Picture, but I think the Academy will recognize it in smaller categories like Best Original Screenplay, because it does have a very clever screenplay. I, Tonya, I think will get nominated. I hope I, Tonya gets nominated as well, because the screenplay is really intelligent, even though it's not original, it's based off of interviews. So, don't really see the logic in that. The Shape of Water I don't think would deserve to be there, but it probably will, because it's gonna get nominated for literally freaking everything. Potential spoilers. I think The Florida Project has a decent chance. The Post has a good shot. So does The Big Sick. The Big Sick probably the least likely of those 3, simply because it hasn't gotten nominated for much stuff. It's a really cute screenplay, but I don't know how well it will do up against big contenders like 3 Billboards and Lady Bird. If The Post gets nominated, it'll probably be just cause it's a historical movie. The Florida Project does seem like a really original screenplay. If any of those got nominated, they'd probably knock down I, Tonya, which would make me sad, because I, Tonya has a really great screenplay. So now we've got the more interesting category, Best Adapted Screenplay. Call Me by Your Name is most likely going to win this. Like, I've read the book, Call Me by Your Name, and I've seen the movie. It's a great adaptation, plus the script in the movie is just good, period. Molly's Game will get nominated. It got a Golden Globe nomination. It's an Aaron Sorkin movie. It's gonna get nominated. But actually, Steve Jobs didn't get nominated for an Oscar, even though it won the Golden Globe. So maybe that'll be the case again with Molly's Game, but I think Molly's Game has a pretty good chance of being nominated. Mudbound will probably be nominated. Like I said, it may not get a Best Picture nomination. I think it will, but if it doesn't, then it'll probably be getting more recognition in the smaller categories. The Disaster Artist is a solid possibility. I hope it gets nominated as well. And that final slot slot. Wow, so many movies could fill that final slot. Film Stars Don't Die in Liverpool, which has not come here, and I haven't really been interested in seeing it, but it looks like an Oscar movie. Wonder apparently has a really good screenplay. All the Money in the World probably has a good chance. I think Logan could also get a nomination in this category. Adapted screenplay could be where they decide to recognize Logan. I'm not gonna get into predicting the smaller categories because then we would be here forever, but those are my main predictions for what will be nominated for the main Oscars tomorrow. Tell me what you think of my predictions. Tell me what you think will be nominated for the Oscars. Click here to subscribe to High School Film Nerds and click here to watch our last video. Thank you guys for watching.